You know, we're seeing some of that in action through the person of Donald Trump, where he has no conflict about what he's saying. He just says it. It isn't yesterday. He's not trying to resolve the past. He's not thinking about the future. He just, there is no conflict in what he's saying. So it's a very powerful energy, and people are attracted to that power. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a lie or a mistruth. If he has no conflict about it, then that thought and feeling is empowered. And that's the same thing that happened, that happens with all people who would wrestle power, you know, for their own. That's their magic, is they have no conflict about it. It's an interesting time. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah.
Not political, not political.
No. I mean, so, you know, so all we need to do is release conflict. And
Right.
of course, if, as you bring that in, which I'm glad, and I understand it, but where's the missing piece? Because I would assume that's not something we want to model.
I had an opportunity to be in the room with Donald Trump in a meeting room at the Plaza Hotel in New York back quite a long time ago. And I was meeting with a client. There were a lot of changes taking place in my client's country, in Russia. And I was meeting with this Russian, and Donald owned the plaza. And so we were in the middle of our meeting, and he burst into the room, you know, didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge me, went right over to Boris Yeltsin and his interpreter, and they started talking. And then when Donald left the room, those two guys almost fell on the floor laughing. And who Donald is, there's no judgment about it. He can be who he is. There's no judgment about that. His effect on people, you know, really is divisive, and it's noticeably and demonstratively divisive. And that's how he uses his power, is to divide people, is to confuse people and to create chaos. And then he draws the energy from that chaos and division and then uses it back. So it's an old technique. It's been used a lot. It was used in Roman times. It's just, I guess if you wanted to label it as an emotion, it would be pure greed. And his approach to it is, for many people, very charismatic. After my meeting at the plaza, I ran back to my hotel and took a shower. Because it just, you know, well, the fact that Boris and his interpreter were out the night before, and they'd just gotten in when it was time to have my meeting, so they were still reeking of party. Interesting moment in my life. So, you know, the point I'm making, energy is just energy. There is no good or there is no bad.
And so there is more than us being conflict free.
If you're without conflict, you will need no guidance. If you have no inner conflict, there is no teaching, there's no guidance, there's nothing more profound than you.
And so that's fine whether you do well for people and yourself or do ill for people and yourself.
But see, that energy is just energy. Um, you know, you can, using Trump as an example, you can talk to his supporters and he's the greatest guy on earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to you, he might be the worst guy on earth, but to them, he's the greatest guy. So who's to say what's right or what's wrong? Energy really is just energy. And going back to the example I used of Jesus earlier, you know, he wasn't condemning the people who condemned him. He wasn't against them in any way. He understood that they really weren't aware of what they were doing. That, you know, basically they were following orders, and if they didn't follow orders, they themselves would be up on the cross. So they were motivated to self, you know, preservation, and he understood that, and he also understood that he could take their lack of understanding, he could take their energy of confusion or their energy of even anger or hatred and use that energy in any way that he wanted, because energy is simply energy. It's not good or bad. And if you know how to use energy, then you get to decide what to do with it. You know, the place within Jesus's mind that wanted to ascend was working. That was what he wanted, and he needed a huge event to do that. He needed an enormous amount of energy to transform his physical body into pure energy. And so he chose to express it out through his mind in that manner. You know, and it's the truth. Energy is just energy. Now, if we understand that our thoughts are electric and our feelings are magnetic, and when we combine that, we've got the foundation of creation, electromagnetism. We've got that going on. That's how things get done, is through that combination.
Right. So it totally resonates with me that he's conflict free. So that's not that. I'm just considering moving into a unified state. It makes no difference whether someone creates something divisive or unified. That's
well, in an age of unity, in a cycle of unity, those who seek to create a separation or division, they won't do well. They won't. And not to make a prediction about Trump or his associates, but they won't do well. That their time is short.
What does that mean? How does that look like?
Well, probably Trump will spend some time in prison.
I'm sure.
Yeah, well, because of all the things he's done that go against legalities, and particularly around tax evasion and fraud, banking fraud. You know, this goes back even to like Al Capone. They couldn't get him on crimes, but they got him on tax evasion. So, and Donald Jr. and Eric and Ivanka are also a part of that fraud. And Mary Trump, the sister who was the judge, she resigned because she knew that she would be forced to resign once this all comes to light. So Trump, by taking the presidency, has ensured his incarceration. Nobody was paying any attention to him until he, you know, started this whole process toward becoming president. But he can sit in his prison cell and say, I was once president. any other thoughts? Is it hard to accept that energy is just energy?
No. Yeah.
That we label it, we place an importance on it, we skew it one way or the other, it's just energy.
No, that wasn't really my point. It was just like, how do we best interact with this time that we're moving into?
Well, it's you
of-
being the center of your experience. It's you understanding that everything is mind, everything is your mind. And if Donald Trump infuriates you, you need to look within your mind, or if somebody like him, or if you feel enormous love for somebody, you need to look into your mind. You need to look within yourself to see where those thoughts and feelings join, so you can have a full understanding of why you're having that experience.
That part I fully understand. Yeah.
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 It's, the only way to respond to this cycle coming up is to understand that you are your own worst enemy. And if you understand that you are against you, and it's not because you want to be, it's because you were trained to be. From the age of 1 to 7, all of that training of you can't do it, I'll do it for you, that's not right, you're wrong, you're bad, you're good, you're all these things. If you really fully understand that that's subconscious, and you need to bring your conscious mind and your subconscious mind together and have them as one single expression. And if you do that, you can begin to really understand your nature. If you don't do it, then you'll continue to bounce kind of this direction, and then maybe something will take you there. And it's like you're being tossed on the sea, wherever the wind and current is going, you're going in that direction. You have no say, unless you join the conscious and subconscious minds. There was a guy who wrote a formula for this, and it's, if you listen to his formula, you totally get it. If you understand that thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic, and you listen to Walt Disney's theme song.
Yeah.
If your heart is in your dreams, if your feelings are in your thoughts, if your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme. Linda Ronstadt's version is the best. I'm going to share something, screen share something. Hold on a second. I think I can do this. I think I can. Hold on. Oh, criminies. Okay, I can't do that. Can't do that either. Sorry. I'll send out a PDF with a few things to you all. It's if you're a balanced being, if you're whole, meaning body, mind, and spirit, if you want to use a New Age term, soul, spirit, body, then manifesting in this unity cycle, it's just a matter of clearing conflict and knowing that your will center is the dominant force within your experience. And what you say is so important. And not just when you're commanding, but what you even say in casual conversation becomes even more like a command. If you really get that this being that you are is above the angelic realm. This, as an eternal soul, you have existed prior to angelic beings. As a spirit, you have come up through the very substance of the earth to this very sentient form of life. If you understand that your body has a precognitive and intuitive ability that is so based in instinctual intelligence, if you really, really get this, then this mind of yours, this body, spirit, and soul, this mind is without limitation in any situation. You could command anything you want. Don't resolve the past. Don't rehearse the future. Stay in the moment. A friend of mine who I helped guide through this process, called one day and was saying, you know, I'm getting some really good results. I'm getting some excellent results, but it seems like the results don't last. Like I command something and I either attract it or it seems to kind of show up in my life. And then it goes away quickly. What am I doing wrong? And here's one of the other aspects of this. If you command something, you can't have the concern of, like, if you manifest something, you have to know that the power behind it is to live the rest of your existence as that command. So let's say you manifested a butterfly and it's floating around. The secret to it is you then have to understand that you could trade places with that manifestation and live out the rest of your existence as that manifest form. So the intimacy of that, the true intimacy of calling a certain state, calling a certain form, the whole energy behind it is knowing that if you wanted to, you would live out the rest of your life as that calling or as that form.
Was your client able to then understand that and have better results?
I've talked to him once since, and he's had better results. He's still, it's almost like he would like to create a flame above his hand. Just, you know, create a, just to prove it to himself that he could do it. And that's the barrier. When you're not living the experience, but you're looking for the proof of your ability, then that puts a limit, that puts a boundary on it. I hear laughter.
I'm just laughing because, of course, you know, flame on, but
Yeah.
do you want to live the rest of your life as a flame?
Yeah. But what he finally confessed was he could see things happening, but it wasn't enough proof yet. And he wanted to have some form of proof so he could prove to himself that he was right about what he was doing. And then that kicks back into the whole thing about the need to be right. Not about being right, but the need, capital letters, need to be right. And he's had better results. But there's still the place within him that has to have the proof. He's a scientist by trade. And it can take 5 lifetimes to get over a good post-secondary education. Little humor.
Gary,
Yeah.
where is the line between relaxing and it just flows versus commanding?
Okay, so where's the line between relaxing and commanding?
It seems like a lot of my life just happens. I don't have to command it. I would like to be able to command it so that it would happen quicker. Just
No.
because, yeah. And
Okay, so
I don't.
so the fact that you are putting a kind of like a time limit on it, like the fact that would say to me that somewhere within you is this need to control the outcome. Instead of purely commanding it, then there's that part of you that needs to control it in some way.
So command it and then let go of it.
Well, you can't, like, do you believe that affirmations work?
Not really.
Yeah, because they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a very dear friend. She has since passed, but years ago she had a bowl by her door, and I would go to Ohio and do programs in the Dayton area, and would stay in their basement. Her husband and I were good friends, and at the door every morning when she went to work, she would pull out an angel card and she would read the angel card as an affirmation. And for her, nothing ever really seemed to change. And she one day threw the bowl out. She said, "Well, this just doesn't work." And I said to her then, I said, "Look, if you have to repeat something over and over and over again, then it's just a ritual. It's just a thought ritual, a feeling ritual. It's like you're wanting something to come out of it by repeating it over and over again. And that means you haven't released it. You haven't allowed it, the command, to go forward. You're just mimicking something that belonged to someone else. The thought originated somewhere else. But if you originate, if you command, you're originating. You're not copying.
I guess it makes me think of the way that we were taught for manifesting in the New Age way of putting a lot of details into it. And then another way of learning that was don't put the details in, just speak what you want, and the universe is in charge of putting all the details in. And I don't know either one of those. Sometimes it feels like life is living me. Sometimes I'm not separate from life in my mind, so I am living life instead of it living me. And then other times I feel like I'm navigating life, and I don't
Yeah.
it just is confusing.
Well, but also, do you know within you where it is that you don't want the details of anything in life to dictate to you what life is going to be?
Yeah, I think my whole path has been, my own personal path, has been a desire to relax and see where life takes me instead of me trying to be in control all the time. Instead of fighting against what I want, the way I think it should show up.
Well, okay, so this goes back to the concept that like you can't resolve a conflict. You can release a conflict. Just simply release it. This is not, I'm not participating in this anymore. You can't resolve it. You can't go back and resolve a conflict. It's impossible. It's too complicated. There are too many layers that build on a conflict. but you can release it. And you can't, when you make a command, you can't orchestrate the command. That's not your place in it. Going back to the restaurant analogy, your sole job is to order off the menu. What do you want? You don't go in then and tell the busboy, you know, how to do the dishes, and the cook how, you know, how much salt or how much, you know, you don't go in and create the recipe and tell the angelics and the elementals how it is that their job is to be done. That's not your position in this. Your position is simply to command what you want. And then the elementals, the angelics, all the energies that form this world then gather around and perform this for you. You know, if you say, I want a new car, and then the next day you see a really beautiful blue car and you say, okay, now, I said I wanted a new car. Now I want a car in that color. Oh, okay, but I need to have it in leather seats. I don't like the cloth seat thing. Oh, and it has to have a Blaupunk radio. Oh, hold it. Okay. And some really good tires because, you know, winter, I don't want to have to change tires. So I want to be, so what most people do is that type of thing. They'll say, okay, I want a new car. And then each day they find an element that they want to put into that command. And what it does, it just breaks down the energy of the command.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does, because I think, you know, my inner conflict was that I had to put details into it, or I wasn't going to get exactly what I wanted.
Yeah. Well, there is something that
Yeah.
actually from the New Age, there is a technique that does work. And and it works surprisingly well. And that is building a storyboard, building images.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you did this, you know, 20 years ago, but there was this movement where you cut out pictures and you pasted it all together and you put words on it and you had this wonderful storyboard of your desire of, and the only problem was it didn't go to the next step. The images are not about words, they're about feelings. And then the feeling kicks in a thought, and then the thought, you know, moves to another feeling, and then this feeling empowers that thought. But what they didn't do was just simply one day say, okay, I have the feeling and the thought, now I want what I want, and make the command.
Okay.
And most people don't, and this is the part in the New Age that got a little weird. When you make a command, it doesn't have to be a thought. It can be a sound. If you have a favorite sound and you take that sound and you connect it to the thought and feeling of what it is you're commanding, and you just utter that sound, the thought and feeling being together will bring that back to you. Do you know what I mean? Instead of saying wealth, you could say kalaka. And because you've assigned wealth and that sound together, when you command it out, then it brings that back. It doesn't have to be in English, or it doesn't have to be even a word that has a meaning associated with the command. It can just simply be the energy you're releasing once you bring the thought and feeling together.